Going live. I am live. I don't have my lead-in music, so I'm not sure what to do with myself. Welcome in. Apparently, it's a little dark in here. Uh, well, hello there, Auburn, Alabama. Is that a little hot for you? That audio. Hello, and uh-oh, that's not good. Technical difficulties. Thank you for bearing with me. If you're here, I appreciate it. And hello, Auburn, Alabama, and all points around the globe where War Eagle can be heard and return with joy, whether that's at the gym or the grocery store or whatever. Welcome in, and War Eagle, particularly on the rolling hills and plains of the loveliest village today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good day to you. And I hope this message finds you, as always, truly well and joyful, and that you are absolutely fully immersed in this savagely magnificent and sublime basketball team of ours. Indeed. So I have, if you're new to me, to Auburn Stuff, I've had the YouTube channel for, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months now, something like that, maybe a year. And I haven't really done anything with it because I've been concentrating on the podcast, the audio side of it, and some of the other aspects of this thing that's going on here. And the renewal is coming up for my podcast platform. And quite frankly, I have a lot of other things, my actual business that pays my bills going on, plus another project, big project that I'm starting that's going to require a lot of my resources, audio, video, professional, all that good stuff. So welcome in here. I'm going to try to, I still want to do this. I still have things to say. If you've listened to the podcast, you know that for sure. So YouTube is free, at least this sort of segment of it, the part I'm using. So I'm going to kind of push all my Auburn Stuff chips in over here on the YouTube side and just hopefully have a little fun with it and pop up here and there with some ideas. And if anyone is here, I don't have any subscribers because I've never pushed my YouTube channel. So if you are here, if I can take a moment of your precious and unrenewable resource known as your time to simply ask that, as per usual, that you hear with everybody on this platform, that you subscribe. Obviously, everybody knows now, there's no mystery. The more subscribers that you have, the more kind of push that you get on the platform. And plus, I believe it takes 1,000 subscribers to go live on the mobile side of YouTube, which is, I don't know, I'm old. So I don't know. I would venture to guess that is where the vast majority of people consume their YouTube live. But if you're near your television, I just popped up on mine, so I'm live there, and I welcome you in. And anyway, I digress. I'm prone to digression. Subscribe, like the video, share the video. I've recently become a little bit more active on Twitter. I really hate social media because I'm just not that funny. Twitter requires either that you be excoriatingly, disgustingly mean or witty. And I'm neither. So I don't do a lot there, but I do have a presence on Twitter and on Instagram for Auburn Stuff. My Twitter handle is @StuffAuburn, and you can just look for Auburn Stuff on Instagram. I just popped in here, and this is set. All of my light and my audio is set for my business video consultations that I do. So it looks really dark in here right now. So I'm going to, it looks like the light on me is good. I'm nothing but a devotee of good audio and good lighting, given what I do for a living. So I'm going to endeavor to try to fix this. Actually, if you'll excuse me for one moment, I'm going to walk over here and open the blinds. I thought the blinds would disturb it, but apparently I need the light because this chiaroscuro lighting I have going on right here is mysterious and it's pretty cool, but I don't like this big blank spot right here. So hang on, let me fix that. How's that? Better? Better? Yeah? Yeah? I don't know. We'll see how. How's that? A little better? Yeah, I think so. And you can see my lovely photo of the loveliest village, which I took myself. And you can see some of my other goodies over here. I've got my little national champion 2010 magnet. I need to work on my weather girl skills. And my other stuff. Little shout out. There's that book about the 2004 season right there with Tubbs on the cover. And there's me and Jack Nicklaus right there when I was 7, I think. Anyway, so welcome into the studio. I spent a long time building on the podcast side, building another studio, which is just to my left. But I thought that I would simply bring it back out here into the light and utilize my regular office space. And I had all of my sound enhancement in the studio, in my audio recording studio, which I've done videos from there. If you have not seen, go check my library out. There are plenty of videos here from Auburn, from various sporting events, and from the podcast. So check that out. And again, kind of just like a reintroduction of myself here, a little bit about Auburn Stuff. I started the podcast, the audio podcast, in 2017, just after that football season, because I wanted to I just started it. I've always been a fan of storytellers, of radio, the old school. Yes, I'm old. I love radio. Anyway, and the platform is available. And at that time, there was really almost no one doing it. Van and John had been doing the Wishbone, the AU Wishbone podcast. Shout out to them for a few years. They started in 2012. God bless their souls. And there were a few others on Auburn. There used to be the Auburn Sports, well, not the Auburn Sports Network. That's where the radio broadcast is. But anyway, where there were a handful of podcasts and there was nobody doing this then. And so I just thought I'd get on the audio side, do a little podcast. And really the impetus for it was simply nothing more than after a loss, predominantly talking about football, you just want to get together with some people, some like-minded folks, and just get in your feelings a little bit, share, maybe vent a little bit, and then tell each other it'll be okay, and then move back on. Or after a win, just celebrate and talk about how many things were awesome about that. That's really all I wanted to do with the podcast, and just throw it out there and have a little fun with it. And whoever listened. And and as we went on through the years, it grew and grew, and I put a little bit more production into it. But again, it's not cheap to do this, and I have actual other things going on. This is not how I make a living. This is just simply how I have fun and try to connect with the Auburn family. So it wasn't a regular thing. And, I kept having big gaps in between it. And I really kind of made an effort prior to this football season to try to put out the regular content that everybody wants and that kind of pushes you to algorithms you up to the top a little bit more. And I did pretty good with it for a while. I even started incorporating some live Instagram videos and some YouTube stuff. Did some recordings of the podcast, some simulcast kind of things. And it was going pretty well until some stuff happened again recently in the last few months, just personal family stuff that kind of took me out of being able to do the regular content, because we're content creators, right? Anyway, so here I am trying to make an endeavor out of this YouTube thing. I'm going live right now, which I don't know if anybody's, no, there's, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. There's no one here. I have 0.0 viewers right now. So I figured that's what would happen because I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers to go on live mobile again. And I have none because I haven't pushed this platform, but that's okay. So you can view this either on your television or, and that's Twitter going as we speak. Hopefully somebody's seeing my post on there about this little foray. Anyway, as I was saying, you can watch it on your TV live, and you can watch the replay. And again, if you will like, subscribe, share the videos. I'm just here to have fun. I'm not here to make money out of this. I'm not here to compete with anybody. In fact, I mean, collaboration among the content creators is the most fun thing that we see across the landscape of this. And there's lots of places you can go, lots of people that are doing good things. And really, there's nobody doing this thing that we want to, personally, that I think that we want to see as fans, from a fan perspective, than the guys at the War Report. They're just killing it. They're absolutely killing it. And if you haven't heard of them, you've been under a rock, or you're old like me and you're just trying to figure out what's going on this digital media stuff. But anyway, those guys are killing it. And I highly encourage you to go over there and watch and listen to them on all of the platforms. Just search the War Report and you can find them. No big deal. Anyway, back to Auburn stuff. If you've listened to the podcast, let's see what's going on Twitter. Auburn Twitter has become quite delightful. And I do have someone apparently who's going to be dropping by soon, which would be good. So you can chat at me if you want. I'm not going to keep you too long today. We have tip off in about 50 minutes or so. I just wanted to kind of do an introductory vidcast little spot and encourage you. I guess I have about 8 or 9 more days until when I don't renew the podcast platform. I presume all of that content will just vanish into the ether. So go, if you want to hear a little bit about my perspective, go listen to a bunch of the last 20 episodes of the podcast and kind of see where I'm coming from, because I don't do things quite like maybe you've seen. I don't do, I'm not a reporter. I don't report the news. I bitch about it a lot. I talk about it a lot. I react, I pontificate, I do a little philosophy. I come from the more philosophical side of this. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll understand about that. So go listen to a few episodes of that to kind of see where I'm coming from. I'm going to keep this as sort of clean and above board as possible today to get subscribers. And once we hopefully grow this sub family of the Auburn family, then we can do some more fun things like do subscribers only, things like that, because you want to keep out trolls and idiots and turd weasels and Delta Bravos and all that kind of stuff. So that's, I guess, just a little bit about Auburn stuff. About me, I went to my first Auburn game in 1979. I told you I'm old. That was, I grew up just outside of Atlanta in the suburbs in Marietta, Georgia. And yes, I know it was tough growing up in the belly of that particular beast. So that gives my perspective a little bit of a different slant than many of you who grew up in the state of Alabama, or just grew up as Alabama fans if you weren't local to Alabama, just with Alabama as our most hated, awful rival. I grew up surrounded by barking fools, including everyone in my family. So you can imagine what that's been like for me. But anyway, my grandparents actually took me to an Auburn, Georgia Tech game at Grant Field in Atlanta. And I just thought that I'd like the guys in orange and blue. I liked the colors. I liked the helmet, and didn't really know much of anything about it. I was 10 years old at the time. And that was my introduction to Auburn. And it just, my deep infatuation and love for Auburn, Alabama, Auburn University, and the Auburn people simply did nothing but grow from there. But so y'all don't care about that. That's just a tiny little bit about my background. I just want to get into a couple of things today. You guys, I will always work off of bullet points in front of me here, and the screen over here, I'll have Auburn Twitter has become an entity, and what do we call it? An entity, a growth entity unto itself, that it's taking on its own life form and taking over Twitter. And it's been fun. I don't do a lot with Twitter because Twitter's awful, but if you can just kind of source it down to just Auburn people, then for the most part, you should be entertained. And I highly suggest that you go over there and give me a follow at Stuff Auburn if you'd like. And I attempt to be somewhat informative and entertaining over there. So a couple things today in Auburn news. Also, I tend to bring, I try to bring a little bit of humor to the party with various observations, such as a thing that I wrote up recently about before Christmas, when everybody on earth was gifting air fryers. And this has become like the chia pet of the 2020s. It's really strange because, first of all, you can't fry with air. You have to fry with oil. You can't fry with air. A thing that's cooked in an air fryer is not fried. So that's just stupid. And my in-laws, God bless their souls, wonderful people. I love them to death. We've asked them really over the last 10 years, please stop giving us Christmas gifts, because first of all, we're grown adults, and the idea of compulsory gift giving, I think, is something that really needs to go away. Well, I feel like I have to give you something. So I end up giving you something that ends up in the landfill or in a closet or in the garage. And when you could have used that money and those resources towards something useful to someone, charity or whatever. And so air fryers, man, they tried to give us an air fryer for Christmas year before last, this 2 Christmases ago. And we're not going to use this. Thank you. We love you. We're not going to use this. So it was ridiculous. But air fryers, it's really, there's no such thing. You're essentially making bad jerky out of whatever you're putting into that thing. You're not frying. The thing that gives fried food its juicy, crispy, unctuous, wonderful flavor is the oil and the crispiness, and the fact that the oil crisps up the batter while keeping the juices inside, forcing the juices inside the meat, the chicken, or whatever the heck it is that you're frying. So that's a stupid thing. And in fact, I mean, some of the things that we saw this past Christmas, it's just, I mean, Amazon's just laughing at us. I mean, I'm inclined to say that most of the stuff being peddled out there is merely an indication of mass psychological dysfunction. I mean, a tortilla blanket so you can look like a burrito. Really? sunglasses that play music. I don't know. We got to stop with this. Anyway, I always keep a page open for various Auburn news, and we'll click a refresh on that and find out Mike Bobo. We don't care that he's rejoining Georgia's staff, AL.com. Twitter reacts. I don't know. I keep this page open and refresh it a few times a day just to see what the heck is going on, and most of it's trash and makes me want to pull my skin off of my face. But there are some good writers out there, and we'll cover who the heck that is. Most of them you should stay away from and completely ignore. If you want my opinion on the media and writers and how disinformation gets fomented, go check out my podcast episode from a few months ago about Auburn creating a position called the Secretary of Disinformation, or the Secretary of Counterintelligence, actually. See how I feel about that. So there's really not much going on outside the Jack Pyburn, some of the signing day stuff. Hey, National Signing Day is in a couple of days, and no one cares, right? Also, I will check on Auburn Twitter in this little thing, because we can always get some pretty daggum humorous stuff going on. By the way, speaking of the War Report, some of that beeping was them liking something that I responded to on their Twitter, which is they just produced a shirt. If you're familiar with their space, and some of the folks that follow along there, about the whole Virginia double dribbled continuing theme over there, and they finally made the shirt, and I bought one today. So you're welcome, and I'll send you along a photo of that as soon as I get ready for that. So anyway, what else? Is anyone saying anything interesting? Marcelo comments on BP's contract. Here's something. Andrew McCain tweets, Louisville is the Olive Garden of college sports, seemingly relevant because everyone knows who they are, but no one really wants to eat there unless they're high, broke, or starving. Boom. Well done. Good job. And Cole Kubelik responded, this is a retweet of Cole's tweet, which said, the Auburn can't pay what Louisville can pay crowd isn't going to like this. Yeah. So Auburn Twitter is a lot. By the way, did you guys see, if you haven't seen it on Twitter yet, go check out, everybody's sharing and retweeting the swag surfing at the gymnastics meet. And by the way, War Dam Gymnastics, they beat the hated rivals from across the state with, I believe what I saw was the second highest score in program history. And I believe our Auburn Tigers gymnasts are number 8 in the country, which is pretty awesome. So go check some of that stuff out. Again, I said I didn't want to keep you here very long, so we have tip-off coming up, and I want to make sure that everybody is free to go to that, right? So a couple of things I want to get into. Okay, basketball fans, are you happy? In case you've been in a coma for the last 12 hours or so, 18 hours or so, the Auburn University has signed our beloved basketball guru and coach and all-around Auburn marketing savant to what essentially amounts to probably a lifetime contract. I think it's 8 years, which puts him at near 70, 69, 70 years old, something like that. And I think that's probably going to be good. Now, I commented when this first happened, I was trying to tell anyone who would listen that the way this has been done, the way that Bruce Pearl has been brought in and allowed to grow and build what he's built since day one is a shining example of how in the hell that you do things like this. I'll get to football here in a second. I don't want to, you keep seeing people saying, don't ruin basketball by talking about football. We'll get to that. This is how you do this. Okay. What you need to do is bring someone in, support them, surround them with what they need, money, facilities, a general atmosphere of security, of we got your back kind of a thing, because crap is going to happen. Good things are going to happen. You got to be supportive when any of that comes along. And that was done over 8 years for Bruce Pearl. And the result is that our coach, our basketball coach, is not going anywhere ever. And so not only has he been allowed to put the roots down and let them grow deeply, starting with guys that essentially no one else wanted, no other SEC schools wanted, and grew that, was given the latitude to grow that over time to create what he's creating now, which is a 5-star or 2 rolling through McDonald's All-Americans, rolling through here and there, but also seeded. The foundation of the team is the grinders, the guys who aren't one and dones, who might not play in the NBA, but are talented and hard workers and committed to the cause nonetheless. You have nothing but McDonald's All-Americans and 5 stars and all that, then you have Kentucky. And God bless you, Kentucky, because, well, whatever. We don't wish, unlike a lot of y'all, we don't wish ill upon our rivals for the most part. Digression. But if you're Kentucky and you have nothing but McDonald's All-Americans and 5 stars, you might win some. You're going to win some regular season conference championships and conference tournaments. You're going to go make runs into the NCAA tournament. You're most likely going to be a perennial participant in the NCAA tournament. How many championships have they won with all their 5 stars and all their McDonald's All-Americans? You can't build a cohesive team that way. You can't build a family that way. Whatever. You may have your philosophies and opinions on that, but it seems to me that when you take a school that has tangentially cared about something like basketball from time to time, it's as an alumnus or a fan or an observer, it's hard to invest everything that you have into a situation like that when it's not being reciprocated. So when you have a pit like Beard Eves and you don't bring it, and after Sonny Smith, you just kind of run through various things and you have some highs and lows here and there. It's difficult when you have droughts, decades long droughts. It's not that you don't love the team. It's that you just can't invest your emotions and your resources. Okay. It's not, if you don't live there, it's not free, not cheap, and not easy to get yourself to a game. And so you have to realistically allocate your resources elsewhere. But the university, Bruce Pearl, has invested everything. The university has invested everything. And the fans and the alumni are investing everything. And that's what you see. That's what you can and will see happen if you allow it to happen. Now, I'll transition off of basketball by I bullet pointed something. Christian Clemente is one of the writers that I suggest that you read, as he is sane and knows what he's doing. And also you can hear him over at on the Rundown with JG and all those guys. Again, sharing the love here. I'm no competition for anybody. I'll tell you to go to listen and read and watch anybody that's good. So anyway, Christian tweeted, which I've seen in a multitude of places now, the following: Auburn's basketball coach is now making more money than its football coach. Not something you probably thought would ever happen 10 years ago. I would say not something you thought would ever happen ever in the history of ever. I think Christian is probably 21, 22, 23, something like that. And so he hasn't been, and he's from Montana, so he hasn't been around long enough to sort of understand how far back some of these trends can go. But yeah, so isn't that interesting? Auburn's basketball coach is now making more than Auburn's football coach. And I'm gonna kind of segue into football, and I'll lead off by saying that I think that's going to change because, and listen carefully and know my earnestness when I say this, the right guy is there. All right. Maybe, perhaps, we should stop projecting our unfounded expectations on Brian Harsin and recognize that this was a reconstruction project. This is not a dumpster fire or a grease fire or anything like that. The foundation of Auburn football was, and always will be there. Okay. Historically a top 15 program, period. There's nothing else you can say about that. The foundation is there. The history, the at least the desire to commit to football, if not the well-informed execution of the commitment to football, and the recruiting base. Now, if you don't have a time frame of longer than, say, the last, I'm going to say 20 years. If your time frame of Auburn football goes back about 20 years, then it's no wonder that our Auburn football family, the football segment of the family, seems to be suffering from a mass psychosis brought on by it's post-traumatic stress brought on by this bipolar roller coaster that we've been on, because the right competent leadership was not installed where it should be. And so the football program has been successful in spite of itself because of that foundation. And so the highs have been there, but just as consistently the lows have been there, and it sort of averages out to the middle, which everybody knows. Well, we're an 8-5 program. Well, whatever. If you go back in the mists of time a little bit to the last time we had coherent, rock solid leadership, i.e. Patrick Fain Dye, you saw, and Georgia and Alabama were just as competitive then in a different, football was a different world then. Okay. You saw, consistent success, and you saw conference championships. You saw consistent, especially in that run of the late 80s, you saw that consistent 10-win season. You saw the 83 team get cheated out of a national championship, which seems to be an ongoing theme for Auburn football. But I digress. So, coming back to the present, Brian Harsin is not some noob, some up-and-comer. He has a record, a deep record as a program builder. And as I mentioned, we really haven't had a program builder. I think that Tubbs was probably the closest thing to it. But we've spent too much time bringing in the hot coordinator, which is so dumb. It is a wildly different set of skills that you need to possess to be a program builder as a head coach. This isn't 1989 anymore. You can't just be a coach, a football coach. You have to have a set of skills that not a lot of people have, organizational and leadership mainly. And you got to have a system and a plan to implement that system. And it's important that you also have some struggle and some failure, because this just does not come easy. But coming back to today, Coach Brian Harsin, the man that's here now, I believe, and I have said this, go back and listen to my podcast since day one when he was hired. I believe fully that he's the right guy. He has to be allowed. My God, we get 8 games into a season and we want to fire the football coach because crap's not going the way we want it to go. That's our hair trigger level of discontent. Project that onto what Bruce Pearl has done with basketball. And where would we be had we just said, you know what, this first 3 or 4 years are not going great, let's move on to the next guy. Well, we didn't care as much about basketball at that time because we had lived through the Tony Barbie years, and the Depression just sent us away from the arena. So he was allowed the time to grow, but we're not as willing to do that, to allow that time for football. And this nonsense about this parochial attitude about he ain't from around here, he don't know how to do the SEC, can't recruit, can't do. How do you know? There is nothing that anyone knows that he can or can't do at this point in time. He has not been here for 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. Let the man grow into the job. Let him insert himself into the community, into the family. Let him engender some trust. Let him engender some good feelings. Let him engender some confidence from us. You got to allow it to happen, because if you don't, we're going to be on this cycle forever. Well, let's fire him if he goes 7-6 next year, and bring in the next guy. Who are we going to bring in? Bob Stoops. What are the stupid names keep coming up again over and over again? Bob Stoops. And what's that jackass that the guy at Liberty, Hugh Freeze? Yeah, let's bring in one of those guys. Let's see how that works out for us. Then let's bring in the next hot coordinator. No, the right guy's here. Let him do his job. You got to be patient. I know it's hard, and you may disagree with me, and that is fine, but I am right. And if we let him grow and let the roots run deep and build his system, implement his plan, I think that we will all be pleasantly fulfilled, shall we say. A couple of other things I wanted to touch on in this inaugural. I mean, it's not really inaugural. I think it's my first live here, so we'll call it inaugural. So anyway, I'm going to remind you, if you could please, when you see this, like it, subscribe. Please give me some subscribers. Why would you not, right? You love Auburn. I love Auburn. We're just going to share, and we're going to have fun here. So help a brother out. Do a subscribe and a follow, a like. Click the thumbs up and the bell. Whatever. And share. I'll post these on YouTube, hopefully, and you can share the looks like Equestrian is doing well. Updates over there. Anyway, and you can share the episodes, and hopefully we can get enough going. I can get enough subscribers that we can do, that we can actually go live on mobile, so we can all have fun together, and you can like and comment and do all that kind of stuff. So, getting back into this, there's obviously the biggest talk of the last year as it relates to not football mostly, but basketball as well, with the transfer portal, but also with NIL. And the idea that I want to put out there, the philosophy that I want to put out there about the transfer portal and NIL is the philosophy that there are zero things in the universe which are binary or black and white. Really nothing. let's put it this way. When it comes to humanity, there is nothing binary, nothing black and white, which means it's not only right and it's not only wrong. In fact, there's also the middle ground is more than just one thing as well. So it's not right or wrong or kind of. There's a million different perspectives that can all be true and accurate about a single subject. And name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal are they're shining examples of how the freedom to pursue whatever you wish can elevate. It's what we all want to do, right? Can elevate one to the greatest form of oneself. It can crush the confused and misled, and it will also enrich the belly crawling turd weasels in the world, of which there are many who are out there simply profiting off of teenagers. So all of those things are true about NIL and the transfer portal. It's great. It sucks. It helps. It hurts. It does everything in between. And the reason I say that is let's see. I'll paraphrase John Adams and mash in a little Ben Franklin, that our Constitution was made for a just and moral people, and we've given you a republic if you can hang on to it. And so what that means is NIL and the transfer portal are amazing for young men and women who have a good foundation, a good operational foundation, and are surrounded by people who are looking out for them. And the same with NIL, because there is nothing in this world that says adults, and we keep calling them kids. And that's a point I've hammered home for as long as I can remember. These aren't kids. These are adults. For the most part, there's very few that are under 18, not enough statistically to recognize as a group. These are adults, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years old. There is no reason why these folks can't market themselves and profit off of their work, right? So I am not, nor have I ever been, against the transfer portal or transferring and NIL. I want it done right. And I want it really, when it comes down to this, I'm the father of a daughter, of an 18-year-old daughter. I want better men in the world. I want to create better people so that when she's out there bumping into these folks, that they're not doing unspeakable things to her. So my focus outside of growing and fostering and cultivating a great Auburn University, is to create better people. And you could do that. You can allow, if someone's in a bad situation, at whatever school, whatever team they're playing for, and it's in their best interest to transfer so that they may grow as a person and perhaps enhance their talent to go on and make a living out of what it is that they do, then you need to go. And Bruce said this, BP said this on an interview recently, might have been the War Report guys that he was on a building report segment, but it might have been somebody else. But I guarantee you he said this in 100 different places, which is he's for the transfer portal, but he's for working through difficulty rather than running away from it. And not everybody that transfers is running. And not everybody that transfers is lazy. But the door is open for that to happen. And sure, if somebody's a dirtbag, let them go. But if somebody just needs a little support and a little help, and it's really easy just to cut and run, and he's got nobody saying, all right, I hear you, man. You're not happy right now. You don't have much playing time and things aren't going like you thought they were when you came here. Let's talk about this for a second. A mentor in the program or in the school somewhere that says, let's sit down and talk about this for a second. What's bumming you out about this? What can we do about this? And how much of this is about you? Can you accept the responsibility for why you're not getting enough playing time right now? What can you do differently on the practice field or in the classroom or on campus or in town or on game day? What can you do? And I'll help you do it. You give me a list and I'll help you do it. And we'll talk about this. And if we figure out that you can't grind through this and work through this and be at this place, if you love it here, then we're going to help you. We're going to help you find a situation that's better for you. That's the conversation. That's something resembling the conversation that should be, and I would hope is happening within these athletics departments. And I know that there's so many student athletes that people can get lost, but that's something that needs to be worked on. We need to work on not losing these people, because look, man, not a fraction, a tiny fraction, a fraction of a fraction of these student athletes are going to go play in pro sports. Let's narrow it down to the NBA and the NFL. A tiny fraction of these elite athletes with full ride scholarships to major universities, 4- and 5-star athletes, a fraction of them are going to go play pro sports. So let's make sure that they're able to take care of what the hell they can take care of for the rest of their lives. Because even if they do go play pro sports, they got an awful lot of life to live after that. So when it comes to making sure these young adults are making some money, let's make sure that they understand what money means and the value of money. And then it's not about buying sneakers and phones and headphones and whatever else. I hear people all the time, well, the stupid argument about paying players, the rote mantra that you seem to hear all the time is, well, we need to get these kids some money. Kids, get these kids some money so that they can pay their bills and send some home to mama. Are you kidding me? Please stop for a moment and remember back to when you were 18 or 19 or 20 years old and how many bills you paid and how much money you sent to mama. None. So let's stop pretending to be altruistic about this and let's be realistic about this. Let's all come together on this. Be realistic. Make sure that these kids, Jesus, I did it too. I'm sorry. Make sure that these young people are, okay. Why don't we have a major in, I don't know, football? I'm going to major in athletics. And what that major consists of outside of the core 2 years of classes, all of your BS that you got to take to move on to your major concentration, it's going to include accounting, marketing, whatever the hell else you need, sports medicine, whatever else you need to go around this thing that you have this amazing talent for, that will enable you to live something resembling a productive and decent and elevated life after your playing career, whether that's after college or after the next level. Why? That's what needs to be happening with NIL. Because giving a young person a bag of money and saying good luck is a recipe for disaster when they don't have the support system and the infrastructure. And from what I understand from my quasi-informed stream of information, that Auburn is doing NIL pretty well. And actually, I just saw that they named Jason Campbell as whatever their director of NIL. And I think that's a great move. And tangentially speaking, another thing that I've been screaming about for a long time with Auburn athletics, most particularly with football, is, and Brian Harsin has done this, is bring former players back into the fold. Give them a base, a foundation. Give them let them return to the family. Give them some purchase, man. Give them a feeling of involvement with the thing that they devoted so much of their energy and resources in life to. So good on Auburn University and Auburn University NIL for making Jason Campbell the director of NIL. So I think I'm going to stop ranting about that because we've been here for about 50 minutes and it's about 10 minutes until tip off against the Oklahoma Sooners. And so Oklahoma, a little bit about that, pulled them up to kind of see their record doesn't indicate what kind of team they may or may not be. They're 13-7 overall, 8-3 at home, 2-3 away, 3-1 in neutral. They started off the season against, who cares? They were playing exhibitions and teams. UTSA, which is a football powerhouse now. Then they moved on to another tournament where they won some, lost some. They beat Florida early in the year, December 1st. They beat UCF. They beat Arkansas, but I guess Arkansas was kind of struggling at that point. They went on a losing streak to, they lost to Baylor, of course. They lost to Texas, TCU, Kansas, and lost to Baylor again. But they beat the brakes off of West Virginia in Morgantown this past Wednesday. So they come in off a good win. I think I read somewhere that they did not go home first, which I guess would make sense going from Oklahoma to West Virginia, back to Oklahoma, and then to Auburn and back to Oklahoma in a few days when you could just go to West Virginia and then fly down to, I don't know, fly to Atlanta and take the bus over, whatever the hell it was that they did. So anyway, what kind of game is this going to be? I don't know. I expect, of course, we all fully expect our guys to be back home and energized, especially I hated playing that Tuesday game off the Saturday game, draining high energy Saturday game against Kentucky. And then you go on the road a couple of days later and they were flat. They were tired. You could see it. You could see it in the jump shooting. There was some tired legs out there. Outside of the rims not being regulation size, that's about the only thing that was really evident. The energy and the stamina was a little low against Missouri, but that game was won with nothing but holy, stinking, unbelievable guts. They gutted that win out. So I love that they got the 3 full day rest before this game, and they're home and the crowd is going to be ready. And from what I saw, Coach Harsin showed up with some food this morning, I think it was, and let it grow. Let that grow. I think the students are. But anyway, so I hope that Wendell's knee is okay. When I saw it happen, I saw the close-up slow-mo, and I was like, yeah, that's he's okay, but that's going to be a bone bruise. That's going to be sore. So I don't expect that he'll be slowed by that, but something to watch out for. I don't know if Lior's going to be back. Haven't looked at any of that stuff, but I expect everyone from this point out to throw everything they got at us, as long as we're number one, especially. So I expect Oklahoma to come in and do well. I think that being on the road for a week or 5 days or whatever it's been for them without going home might weigh on them a little bit, and we should be a better basketball team. We are a better basketball team. I'd really like to not get down by 10 or 12 or 14 points before we have to kind of figure things out. I would love to get up early. I'm not saying we got to win by 30 to make me happy, but I'd like to get up early and sort of not have to sweat the results. Wouldn't that be nice? And we can go into the weekend knowing that we should by all rights in a sane world maintain our number one rating through another week. So that's that. Let's get on out of here right now. Again, guys, I appreciate you coming in. I thank you for your time. Subscribe, hit the bell, like the video. You know what that does, and share this so I can grow the subscribers so we can have a little bit more fun with this. And I appreciate your time. Now let's all go watch some basketball. And as always, from right here in the low country of South Carolina, I wish you well, I wish you joy, and War Eagle.